Welcome everybody to Relationship Fun and Games.
And Fights Clean Sex Dirty TV.
And we're here in episode 6 of our 4th season, the season of play. And we're here to talk about how to keep the sex dirty during.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. This is like, the nitty-gritty of the down and dirty. And when I say dirty, I mean in the best way possible. This is where naughty is a very nice thing. But before we dive into that topic tonight, let's first hear from a couple of our awesome interviewees that joined us today. We're really excited to have Sherry Froman and Scooter Wilson, friends of ours for the last number of years, and just have really a spicy and colorful relationship that we're looking forward to sharing with you. So Sherry's been creating play parties for over 14 years, and Scooter's been in the entertainment industry and film and television production. They've been together for 7 years, and there is no 7-year itch on this couple. Like, when you're with them and around them, it's just a very sweet, beautiful, playful, easy, the P3, the playful, peaceful, passionate that Raj and I always talk about. And they've been hosting erotic parties for years. They've, for years, been hosting a party at Burning Man, at a camp called Chakralicious, and they've just been really creating a stand for individuals and couples to express themselves sexually in a playful and transformative and even sacred way. So thank you both for being here with us today. We're so glad to have you.
And I love this statement from you that you love bringing people together to learn how to communicate in ways that are sexy and empowering. We really usually don't talk about communicating in a way that's sexy and empowering. And just how to have fun when it comes to sex and exploration. Love that. Welcome,
yes.
Welcome, welcome.
More of that in the world. As I like to say yes to the yummy.
Yeah.
Totally.
So welcome tonight. Why don't you, we've let them know a little bit about you, but just so people get a sense, do you want to share a little bit about your relationship over the last 7 years, either how you met or some philosophy? We'll get to the topic at hand in a bit, but just, let us know let us have a little sneak peek into the window of Sherry and Scooter.
Yeah, well, I guess we could tell the story of how we met. And, we actually met on OkCupid, digitally dating. I'd had a profile on OkCupid for a while, and I believe Sherry had been on for just a couple months, maybe even.
Couple weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah. So, and Sherry was the first person that had actually contacted me on OkCupid in the approximately 2 or 3 years that I'd had a profile on there. And
wow.
So I immediately answered her back because, you can't pass up something like that. And we had some phone chats and kind of got to know each other by phone, for about 2 weeks. And then we had our first date. And I know you want to say something about that?
Sure. Yeah, that's correct. I just got onto OkCupid kind of as a fluke because someone had recommended it to me. And, I was just going around reaching out to different individuals, and Scooter responded, and we were chatting for a bit, and we decided to meet. And I remember when we met up, I gave him a hug, and there was something from his whole being that just said yes. Like, he was a total yes to the idea of wanting to connect, of wanting to relate, of wanting to see where the connection was going to go. Like, I didn't feel anything from him holding back. And so the whole date that we had was in the park, and I was asking him things like, so do you really want to be in a relationship? Why do you want to be in a relationship? And started getting into more and more specific questions, like what's your shadow in relationship, and more things like that. And it just seemed like every answer he gave was very thoughtful, and this is clearly a person who had decided long and hard he wanted to be committed. And everything just continued from there, and we had our first kiss in my car, and reminded me of the first kiss I ever had in high school, which was also in a car. And, yeah, they just felt like there was a lot of firsts for us, even though they were experiences that I've had before, but it just sort of felt like starting all over again, and it's been that way ever since.
And that was our first date, and we consider that our anniversary also. It was. It just instantly we were, together almost. It was. We'd always kind of felt that we'd, in the months after that, the few months after that, we felt that we'd been looking for each other for probably about 20 years, and it just kind of took us that long to find each other. But we did.
Hey, we so hear that. I was not quite 20 years, but I was 36 when I met Raj, and he was 39, almost 40 years old when we first met. And neither one of us had been married, and we had both really been waiting. You know, we had had some relationships, of course. I'd even had an 8-year relationship and almost got married. But thank goodness, you know, I like to say wonderful is worth it. In this case, it was worth waiting for. But what I also really like that I heard you say, Sherry, is about commitment. You heard that he was a yes. He was, one, leaning in with the yes, and two, not going anywhere. You know, because sometimes people are like, yes, and I don't know, and doubt, and all of this. So to get both the full open-hearted yes and really sharing themselves, not just from the surface, and to have that commitment is such a great foundation to start a relationship on. In fact, John Gottman, one of our favorite relationship researchers, we quote him a lot. You know, he says that the two things a relationship must have are commitment and care. You have to genuinely care about your partner's experience and happiness, and actually be committed, because it's not always easy, and there are things that come up. And I love that one of your early questions was, "What's your shadow in relationship?" It's so great.
Yeah, I think that's important, you know, because realistically, if I'm going to be with someone a long time, I want them to have a more well-rounded view around who they are when they're sharing intimacy with people, you know, and not just only say the great things about themselves.
And Scooter, how did you know that you were ready to commit and dive in? You know, I know that's often a challenge for
yeah,
me.
it was. I'd been single for a while. And I had come out of a marriage, actually, and even though that you know, the marriage ended peacefully, and you know, we were friends, but it was emotional. But I'd had a lot of time to, you know, that I was single, to really think about relationship, and that actually taught me a ton about being in relationship, and I kind of attribute, you know, some of that as to why Sherry and I's relationship is so good, is because I did have a relationship that didn't work out, a marriage, and then you know, I was single and had a lot of time to think about, you know, that marriage, being in relationship and not being in relationship, and how it related to being in relationship, and it just I think that was very beneficial to me, and I was ready, and I was straight up just kind of ready. So yeah.
Well, how great to have a beloved with so much awareness. You know, I call Raj the Energizer Bunny of transformation, because he just keeps growing and growing, and you really can handle anything. It's not like we're never 4-year-olds. You know, we're really 4-year-olds in an adult's body. We get triggered all the time. But at the same time, we're always catching ourselves up, leveling, and growing, and I hear that awareness and willingness with the two of you. So thanks for bringing that, and not just bringing your tips for tonight, but modeling it for us as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. So great to have you here tonight. And just a little bit to our viewers, just so you know how the show goes tonight. We're going to share some of our content with everybody, and then we're actually going to turn it over to Sherry and Scooter and get some of their top tips. And about 6 o'clock, the top of the hour, maybe a little bit past that, we're going to make the join the Hangout button live, which is under the video player. And then you can join us in the Hangout if you'd like to. You can ask questions, you can engage in the conversation with us, or you can just add comments into the comment window on the Google Hangout, and we'll get those answered.
So as you know, if you've been to the show before, we alternate each week between keeping the fights clean and the sex dirty, and we further break the content into when to apply it, because what you're going to do when you're in the thick of it with either a fight or getting it on with some sexy time is definitely not the same thing that you're going to be doing before or after. And tonight's topic is all about how to keep the sex dirty during, right, in the heat of it, the good kind of heat, not the heat of it of an argument, but the heat of it of getting it on. So we're really excited to talk to you about that. And, you know, I just wanted to let you know that Raj had mentioned that about halfway through the show, you'll be able to join live, ask your questions either in the chat comments or in the video. And if you do so, then we'll go ahead and have you email us. We'll give you our email, and you send us an email, and we will go ahead and send you this cheat sheet with on one side how to keep the fights clean and on the other side how to keep the sex dirty, with a total of 16 tips summarized just into one sentence. So you've got the quick, easy reference, because when you're least resourced and the stress is coming up, that's when you need those reminders. So these are the kind of things you can put on your fridge, put in your wallet, and keep those reminders alive. So stay tuned for that about halfway through.
Okay, so we want to just tell you a little bit about some of the past episodes on this topic, so you can go and check those out either on our blog page or some of our past videos.
Yeah, if you are, if getting it on and you're coming specifically for this topic tonight, that's what Raj is just pointing to, is there's a lot of other resources for this topic. Of course, we've got some great goodies for you tonight, but if you want to scratch and sniff and dive a little deeper, you can either remember to use our search function on our blog page, or just look for this symbol, look for the devil horns with the during.
And or go to our episode library and check out the episodes listed here, and great content on how to keep the sex dirty during.
Yes, these are all really good ones. In fact, there's a tip that I learned in episode 1.6 that I still use almost every time Raj and I get it on. It's a great one.
Stretch an orgasm like taffy.
Yeah, see, he even knows what it is. It's you can stretch your orgasms like taffy. She told me that, and I was like, oh my word, she's right. Just with my own mind and intention, those things doubled in length. That was a very great tip. It's like the boogie board, you want to ride that wave all the way to shore.
Okay, so shall we dive into today's tip?
Yes, today's tip, which is called the 3 No's of Naughty.
So we have a tip on a YouTube video here, and our moderator Sarah could put this link in so that you could check out this tip on video.
Yeah, so because we have the hour show, and it's great to go through all this content, but if you want just the short little clip, we have that available as well. But we're going to dive in a little bit deeper here. That's just the kind of scratching the surface, and we're going to give you a little action option here today too, so that you can dive in and make this something that's really alive and present in your life, not just an idea or an aha moment.
Okay, so this tip is called the 3 No's of Naughty.
And most of Raj, almost all of our tips come up during a moment when something's going on with us. And in this case, it was one we had planned an all day, all into the night lovemaking session. We like to do that at least every, 2 months or so, hopefully more closer together, but really have the whole day set aside for just being intimate in that way, making sure we have privacy. And at one point, we'd had all sorts of explorations throughout the evening, and it was getting late towards the night. And Raj suggested that we do something that we hadn't done before. And I kind of turned my shoulder to him, and I leaned my shoulder down, and then, kind of coyly said, no.
And I thought, here's my chin.
And I realized that in that moment, that I was making a clear message to him, or maybe not so clear, but I think the message landed.
It was clear.
That I wasn't ready for it, but I was intrigued, and I wanted him to test me a little bit more. Now, don't get us wrong. Like, consent is not only hot, it's required. This is not what we're talking about here. This is with 2 people in a consensual experience in that moment, but communicating in a fun and playful way about where your pleasure boundaries are.
Yeah, and this also gives you a way to explore things that you might be too afraid to explore. It gives you a structure to actually propose something that might be a little edgy for you, and then get feedback from your partner.
Yeah, so again, this is just a foundational element here, as that yes means yes and nothing less, and that this is a playful way for couples to communicate and really build trust between the 2 of them. Would you go to the next one for me? Great. So the 3 No's of Naughty, the very first one. The first no is like, absolutely not, no. No, you're causing me stress by even suggesting it. I want to take it off the table. Don't go there. You're going to ruin the moment. That's one no.
The second no is it's possible, and this is what Gabby was referring to earlier, but it's really going to take something. I'm not interested right now, and I'm not seeking to be convinced, but I could be.
There's still some room in there. Maybe not so sure. But the third one was actually the no that I was demonstrating, which is the no, I'm not quite convinced, but I really want to be convinced. So will you please convince me and bring me over the edge to that yes. So those are the 3 No's of Naughty, of like, wow, I'm uncomfortable, take it off the table. I'm uncomfortable, but we can look at this a little bit more, but I'm not so sure right now. or the one I was demonstrating, the no, but please do convince me. I'm not there yet, but I really want you to take me there. So that's the 3 no's of nodding. Now, we want to always leave you with an action option.
How about we check in with Sherry and Scooter and see if they have anything to say about this, and then we'll do the action option.
Okay, we'll wrap up with the action option. Yeah, how does this land for you guys over there?
Yeah, there's, you know, we have our own kind of thin boundaries, but we really definitely like to explore some edges in our relationship and sexual relationship.
And do you have ways of communicating where those are? I mean, you know, some people, they use a safe word, but that word is usually like where I've hit my limit and stop. You know, this is like creating a little bit of a game. So do you play at all with where those edges are? And how do you do that?
Yeah, you know, interestingly enough, we've always been so in tune with each other. And I think it's like I mentioned before, when I first met Scooter, he was such a yes, that it's almost like we've been doing this dance. Like if we go to a certain place with each other sexually, we're very much aware of the other person's experience. And so sometimes things will just happen that we didn't really plan on, and it doesn't feel like a huge need to say yes or no to something, because we're not coming at it from a fantasy place. We're coming at it from a, I'm so into you right now, and whatever happens now, it's going to be something that I know about you that would probably work for you. Because I have been
awesome. I love it. It's like I'm like kind of feeling like this just like channel and flow of the love and energy that's coming, and you're both like, I don't know why I have this image, but a little bit on an inner tube, like going down the river, going with the flow of like, ooh, okay, here comes some rapids. Where are we going next? Oh, this looks interesting. But you're both on the same inner tube and like aligned in what's next on the adventure. What's the curve you're going to be taking next?
Totally, yeah, because I have been with people before where they'll get an idea of doing something, but that idea might not have anything to do with who I am or what my real desires are. It's just something that just popped up for them. But with Scooter and I, it just seems like whatever we want to try, we're already a yes to. We just didn't know that until the moment presented itself.
That's awesome. And if you were to talk to some of our audience that may not have that level of sexual connection yet, is there any other tip that you might give in this realm of exploring the boundaries a little bit, or should we hold that until your tips come?
Well, what I think is, first off, try to stay really connected with who you're with prior to trying to explore the world with them. Really get to know them, because there's really no rush. I love the phrase, anything that's worth doing is worth doing slowly. And there's a lot of good energetic buildup that could happen as you're connecting with someone. Everything from how you look them in the eyes, to how you kiss them, to how you sit with them, to all of that. I mean, if something's enjoyable, that can just go on indefinitely. And then from there, adding little pieces here and there that are slow and gradual and, easy enough that someone could take it in and it's not too much of a distraction from where they're already at. And just really appreciate it.
Oh, and I like this. I was going to say, Sherry, I really like that you're talking about getting aligned early and often, and so that you will be able to notice as soon as one person is on a different inner tube, if you use my metaphor, that it becomes obvious, and you have an opportunity to come back together. So it's before you're actually in it and suggesting something that's quite different, but actually just even beforehand, as you said, with just making eye contact and the gaze and getting aligned with that connection first.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that Scooter was such a yes to being with me really helped slow everything down, because not knowing that somebody's available to be in a long-term relationship, I can feel myself wanting to speed up and try as much as possible, because I don't know how much time I'm going to have with that person, so I want to do everything at once. But to be with somebody who says, yes, there's no rush, there's no hurry, I'm here for you, it's so healing, because then I can go to the beginning and say, phew, well, let's try everything from the beginning and take our time.
I love that, honey. We should have like a checklist of like 100 things and like, okay, let's just start over from the beginning. Everything's a first ever. I love that. That sounds like a fun game. We're always listening for the game to play, right?
Yeah, so another thing for people that may be just starting out, getting more adventurous sexually, is do some exercises. Maybe not even on the day of that you're gonna have fun and get down, but do some exercises where you're with your significant other, and you do some practicing of saying no and saying yes. So, for instance, you're with your partner and you're in conversation and you're doing an exercise where one partner proposes something completely off the wall that you would never say yes to, and that person proposes to you, and the other person respectfully says no. And then you move on again and say something else that the person's going to suggest, and that person says no, but maybe. And then again, do another exercise where there's a suggestion and the person says, yes, let's go for it. Or yes, let's go for it, but let's take it easy. And that's just kind of, getting an exercise of actually saying no and being comfortable saying no with your partner. That's really important, to be comfortable to say no or yes in any situation. And that's definitely one of the things that Sherry and I have with each other, is that we are very comfortable saying no or yes in any situation.
Yeah, and Gabby just whispered into my ear that like you're rehearsing, you're practicing, because often
all three of them, it's not just well, let's practice saying no. You're like, well, let's practice all three, so you're not adding any emphasis to any one of those three. You're just saying, let's practice all three so that you have fluidity and facility with any of them.
Totally.
Yeah, it's also good to practice and just get used to a no, right? Because we want the yes. That's why we're asking. And no, sometimes you're just going to get a no and be able to roll with that and not get shut down. I think that's the big thing, is just to be able to play.
And I know a little bit later on we're going to be talking with some of your tips about role-playing. So this is fun. It's kind of like role-playing with yes, no, and maybe, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting to hear how your partner says no and how your partner says yes. Because, you can hear that, because that no may not be as loud in a situation where you're actually getting hot and heavy. But if you know how your partner says no, you can catch on to that and tailor the experience to the situation.
Well, let's go ahead and give everyone the action option here so we can get then to those tips of yours, those role-playing games and other adventures that we'll be talking about. Looking forward to that. So, Raj, ready for the action option?
I am ready.
Dun, 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 dun. We like to sing that theme song because we want you to know that this is totally up to you. It is an option, it is an adventure, and you can just take what you've heard today and just say, great, I heard it, let it go. But we want to really encourage you that none of this will make any difference unless you take action. So whether you just write something down, text a friend, hey, support me in this, text your beloved, hey, I want to try this game, whatever it may be, but actually do something, do anything. So this is going to give you one suggestion for what you can do, and in this case, it's for the tip, the 3 no's of naughty.
Okay, so step 1, and this is the step to take in advance, and that's to tell your beloved that you've got some fun ideas about spicing things up in your sex life, in your sexy time.
Yeah.
You want to bring it to a new level. And also tell them about this tip, the 3 no's of naughty, and your intention with that tool is to create a relaxed and fun way to explore some of those outer edges, the boundaries of what you're comfortable with in terms of sex and pleasure. And that you're always going to be respecting where those boundaries are, and you want to explore pushing them a little bit.
Yes, the edges are nice, right? You want to, it's exciting to do something you've never done before, but you don't want to be pushed so far over your edges that you contract because you're not feeling safe and secure. So in step 2, this is the getting started, the setting the stage to really initiate and engage in some sexy time. So you may want to look at some of the tips for how to keep the sex dirty before and as it starts on that step. And then in step 3, this is when you're in it. You are on-ramping into your sexy time, and at that point, you just want to let your beloved know you're going to be trying something new, remind them that they can let you know about the 3 no's of naughty, and that they can tell you how interested or confronted they may be. And of course, this can be played either way. You can do the same thing, just make sure they know what the game is that you're playing.
And step 4 is a bonus to invite your beloved to make their own edgy suggestions and moves, and for you to be able to play with that 3 no's of naughty as well.
Test my boundaries. Test my boundaries.
And until you find that resounding yes. So there's your action option, and we encourage you to test this out on
But
your own.
of course it is an option, but
So,
let us know how it goes. Send us your comments and your own tips as well. We love hearing from couples and single people out there on what they've figured out on how to create a playful, peaceful, passionate relationship. But now let's go ahead and turn our tips and our brilliance, our focus over to this great couple, Sherry and Scooter. I'm so excited. We got to talk a little bit about these tips earlier, and I'm excited to dive in even more. Thanks so much. Where would you like to start?
Sherry.
Where shall we begin? Silly and sexy?
Well, yeah, we have right here at the beginning. My favorite here, you got the silly and sexy. You know, with the playful, peaceful, passionate, we like to have a good time over here. So tell us about silly and sexy.
Great. Well, how specific can we get about what we've done in the bedroom?
You can get as specific as you want. We'll just let people know now. If you don't want to hear anything specific about being in the bedroom, this is a show about keeping the fights clean and the sex dirty. I have had one person on the show say or do something and my jaw just dropped. But in a year and a half, that's only happened once, so we'll see how that goes.
And the during is always the edgiest show. The sex dirty during is always the edgy show, so people know to expect it. So yeah.
And it's great for us too, because Raj and I, we are the best at keeping it playful. We are second best at keeping it peaceful, and third best at passionate. So we love having couples on that really stretch, you know, what we might talk about and how we might talk about keeping the sex dirty. So wherever you like.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I've always loved about Scooter was he definitely has a playful, silly, and creative edge to him when it comes to being sexual. I remember one time he told me to come to our room, and I came to the room and I didn't see him anywhere. It's like, okay, wonder where he went. And I wound up doing some things in the room, like tidying up a few things, and I'm sitting down and I'm still wondering, where did Scooter go? And then I hear this little noise coming from the closet, and I look at the closet, and I saw Scooter's erect penis sticking out of the closet while he was hiding inside the closet. He had been standing in there for a good 5 to 10 minutes, not moving, hoping that I would find him, and managed to keep his erection the whole time. And so the fact that all I saw was this erection sticking out of the closet, and he had planned it that way, and it took that long for me to find it. I just thought that was so hilarious and so ingenious that that's how he planned on hiding himself. So that was pretty.
There's a new version of hide and seek, right?
Yeah.
Probably the best hide and seek.
Come find me! Come find me!
So.
Yeah.
And it worked, you know, so.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. We don't usually bring, or at least some of us don't bring play into our sex lives. We get very significant and serious.
Yeah, it's mostly the dynamic is like shame, embarrassment, you know, body image issues, you know, things like that. So it's always such a delight when the first thing people have to say about, you know, during keeping the fights clean during, and so, excuse me, the sex dirty during is about bringing play. We're super excited and love hearing more of that.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to go see later.
That sounds good. Okay, and how about anything else?
Yeah, another thing is, you know, we like to do role playing sometimes just to spicy things up. We were out walking around one day, and Sherry had seen this blonde woman, this really cute blonde woman, and mentioned how hot she was and check her out and stuff like that. And you know, it was fun, and we kind of laughed and giggled and went on our way. And I think it was probably another day later or something. We were getting sexy, and I asked her if, you know, she wanted the blonde woman that we had seen the day before, and she kind of said yes. So I just, in the moment, I became the blonde woman. And it really turned her on. So.
Yeah, and the way he was doing it is, we were having sex, and he's looking at me, and he goes, "I'm a little blonde girl. I'm a little blonde girl." And then suddenly he just thrust right into me and say, "Now I'm Scooter." And he kept doing that over going back and forth, like almost teasing, taunting me with the whole blonde girl persona, and then switching back and forth to himself. And it was hard to keep a straight face, because like the sex felt really good, but the fact that he was teasing me with this other person that we had seen was just too funny.
That's great. That's really a combo between the first and the second, right? You're role-playing and keeping it silly as well.
Yeah.
I just love that so much that usually, that it wasn't what I was expecting for a role-play story. I just absolutely love that. Keeping it really surprising. That's so great.
Yeah. And, spontaneity is definitely something that is very present and keeps things lively. Around here, but again, with the spontaneity, it's comes the certain amount of trust that we have also. So we kind of allow each other to be spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it helps out.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning of our relationship, I've had a background with tantric lovemaking, tantric spirituality, but when I was first dating Scooter, I didn't really talk too much about it, mostly because I just wanted to see who he was as a person and how, we were going to organically show up in each other's lives. And one time we were making love, and all of a sudden I noticed he was doing some really intense breathing, and he was doing essentially a tantric orgasm on himself, like the male version of it. And he was doing that for a long time, completely spontaneously out of the blue. And later on I asked him, I said, what were you doing? And he says, I think I was giving myself some tantric orgasms there. And I said, wow, well, how did you learn this? Because I'm thinking, I never taught it to him. And he says, and he's looking me dead in the face, he says, I think I just picked up on it from being with you.
Oh, wow.
He channeled my background on tantric orgasms into his own lovemaking experience without me having ever speaking of it. So.
Talk about being a good influence.
Very impressed by that.
Wow, yeah, and it's amazing just talking about the role play again for a moment. Just even the slightest request, it can totally turn you on and get your sexual energy up. And we have so much fear around even the slightest things. I love outfit changes.
I knew he was going there. I was like waiting for the outfit change. He's going to slip that in.
There's this hat that I picked out for Gabby, and it was crazy how much I just love this hat. And even just the simplest things that can instigate role play can totally jazz up your sex life and have it stop being just that still, predictable, same old, same old.
Yeah, the baseball cap on backwards versus the fedora, it's a very different vibe.
Easy
right. Well, sometimes if we're out hiking in the woods, we'll spontaneously want to make love somewhere in nature. And we've become wild animals as far as role-playing goes. We've become tigers just clawing and scratching at each other, or I don't even know what other kind of animals, but sometimes we like to role-play where we're not even humans anymore. We're other creatures.
Nice.
An intensely erotic experience. So that's
nice.
Great.
Well, this is kind of bringing us into from the role play to the fantasies and mind and in action. In action there, definitely. I don't think we've left the trail quite like that before, honey.
I don't think so.
Maybe it's poison oak phobia, but definitely sounds exciting.
I just want to remind the viewers that the Join the Hangout button is live now. If you want to join in, you may need to hit the refresh button on the browser if it's not linking you through.
And if you prefer to join and have your video turned off, you can go ahead and set it that way. And if you want to just ask a question in the chat, feel free to do that as well. We'll be taking a look at those as we continue on. Now we're talking about fantasies.
Fantasies. In mind and in action. Tell us about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, that kind of comes back to, it does, like we're on a hike or something in the woods, and and you know, that's kind of in the action. In Fantasies in the Mind, it's funny, we kind of play this game, and this is kind of one of the things also is, you know, we role playing and fantasies, playing games, but we try to dirty old man each other sometimes, and
Wait, you gotta say that one again. You try to what? Each other sometimes? Say that again.
Out dirty old man each other.
I thought that's what you said. That's awesome.
Yeah, we both kind of have
dirty old man than that. I'll see yours and I'll raise you.
Yeah, we both have been known to say some dirty old man comments before when we're turned on, either towards each other or, you know, towards other images of people that we've seen, and, you know, we can just keep going. It's pretty hilarious, and I think having a partner that has no judgment or no turn off towards me being female, speaking like that, has been really wonderful and very healing, because it's just a strong part of who I am in the bedroom. So it's really great to be able to, you know, just keep going and have a lot of fun with it, for sure.
Well, and, you know,
Awesome.
you know, as I said before, I worked in the entertainment business for a long time, and I've been a stagehand for quite a long time, and stagehands are known to be fairly salty sometimes in their language and some of the things we say. So, I mean, in a funny sort of way, it was kind of refreshing to have a partner that didn't really have a problem with any of the salty language or anything like that. I mean, not that I bring it home all the time, but it's just nice that it's there and available.
Mm-hmm.
She can hang.
Yeah.
She can hang with the whole realm of Scooter. She's got space for the whole range of it, which is so great. You know, just that feeling of acceptance. You know, even, you know, during sex, before, after, but just that feeling of being welcome. So many people, as we mentioned before, whether it's feeling the shame that's conditioned as we grow up, to be able to express yourself and have that be welcomed. And even not just sexually, but just to be accepted for who you are in a day-to-day experience is such a gift. I was once in a room with 300 people, and someone was introducing someone that they brought. And they said, "This is my husband," and they got 3 words to describe them, and she said something like total absolute acceptance, like, or he absolutely accepts me. And the whole room of 300 people went, oh, like, oh, I want to be accepted for who I am. So bravo on creating that between the two of you.
Yeah. There's another fantasy that we had put into action one time. It was also the beginning of our relationship, one of our first play parties that we went to together. You know, we didn't want to be intimate with anyone but each other, but we still wanted to somehow connect with other people there. So we got into one of the rooms, and we were making love where I was on top of Scooter, facing the other way, facing his feet. So I think that's called reverse cowgirl. And what I was doing is I was inviting over other people from the party, you know, other men who I liked, to come and sit between Scooter's legs facing me, and having like an eye-gazing, energetic, love-making connection without actually physically doing anything with them. So that was really hot, because there I am having Scooter behind me, laying on his back, just, you know, having sex and having a great time. But I was looking and connecting with other people sitting just a foot in front of me. So it almost felt like I was making love with these other people, but physically I wasn't crossing any type of, you know, boundary with anyone else. So that was really hot. So that was, I think, a fantasy that definitely got to be put into action, is being with other people while not necessarily being with them.
Which brings us right into our last bullet point here, which is the play parties and other adventures. And for those who haven't heard this term before, play party, will you just let them know what you're talking about? I know you've been hosting them for 14 years now and creating a safe space for couples and individuals to explore their sensuality. But why don't you let people know what that is?
Okay. Well, play parties are something that they're events that allow people, usually from overlapping communities, to be able to be freely sexual with whoever is of their choosing in an environment that feels very safe, has a sacred container. Usually people are hand-chosen to go to the party, depending on who the organizers are friends with. And they're actually a very, very safe place to explore various forms of sexuality with people that you might not be in a relationship with. Sometimes couples will go there because it's exciting for them to make love while there's other people around them. Sometimes people will go because they want to connect sexually with other individuals there. And it's very beautiful. It's not like a crazy wild orgy where everyone's having sex with everyone else. I know that's a bit of a fantasy or a story that a lot of people have about it, but on the contrary, it's a very warm, loving, caring environment. There's always a big bowl of safer sex supplies there. Usually people have to sign some form of agreement that they're not going to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z while they're there, whether it's get too intoxicated or, touch people without asking permission. And whenever I've helped out with them, we've always done some sort of opening ceremony to get people connected with each other. We've had really good quality food there. We've decorated the place to look really beautiful and inviting. Sometimes we've had DJs, so it was also a dance party. And there were really beautiful events and very healing for a lot of people to know that sexuality was not something that always had to be kept private behind closed doors, but is something that could be shared around people who they love and trust.
Well, thank you so much for painting that picture. I know this last year at Burning Man, I had a good friend of mine standing in line for a play party, and someone said, "Do you know what a play party is?" and told her, and she said, "Oh, I think I'm in the wrong line." So it's good for people to know whether they're going into that tent or to that party or not. I really love even the way you speak about it, not just with your words, but with your tone of voice, of this very safe feeling about it. Raj and I have never ourselves been to a play party, but I haven't ever heard somebody talk about it as beautifully and respectfully, I guess is the word I'm thinking of, as you have. So thanks for painting that picture. Any other adventures? We've got play parties and other adventures. Oh, sorry, Raj is giving me a note here. He had some questions. I bet you do.
I just wanted to, many people that may be listening to this episode, it may be very far away for them to even consider doing something like this. I was just wondering if you had any coaching or any advice on how they might dip their toe into this kind of thing in a way that works for their relationship, because it could, it could fall into the 3 no's of naughty. Hey, you want to go into a
Well, Gabby.
Well, actually, what it makes me think of, honey, is what John Benson talked about with fantasies, desires, and needs, right? So let's hear what they have to say, but we can add something to that. Yeah,
Gabby had you had mentioned really kind of latching onto the word safe when Sherry had mentioned it, and I think that is, if you're thinking about opening up your relationship and to other people or with other people, that you really have to feel safe with your partner and safe in your sexuality and safe in everything that you do, and that really points to just trusting and knowing your partner. And I would definitely not suggest, if you've been together for 6 months and you've been monogamous your whole life, to try and go ahead and open your relationship up. I would suggest you be together for a little while and then maybe try to open it up. But
I was just talking to a couple about that today, that they had started their relationship, opened, and decided they were going to give it at least a year to build that foundation together before they decided if they were going to go that route.
Yeah, and I think also, I don't know that I would ever want to go to a sensual event or play party or whatnot with somebody who I didn't feel was also not just my lover, but my best friend. So that level of trust and that level of connection, I think, is really important before a person goes to a play event with a significant other, So making sure the trust is really strong, as well as the friendship.
Yeah, and if I could add, to your question about for people that if they're not necessarily going to go to a play party, our friend John Benson was talking about the difference between fantasies, desires, and needs. And a fantasy for him is something that you think about and you talk about, and you might even say to your beloved, okay, I want to hear your fantasy right now. You have full freedom to say anything you want. I'm not going to think that you actually want to do that in reality. And then a desire was something that you really wanted to do, but it didn't have to happen. It just was like, oh, this is a turn on for me, and it would be great if you were on board for this. And then the need was something that you needed as a baseline for your intimate relationship. And I just thought it was a great framework for people to explore where those boundaries are. So it might be that someone doesn't want to actually go to a play party, but maybe in the talking about it, maybe they want to, in the fantasy part, say, okay, we're not going to actually do this. You could use the 3 no's of naughty, be like, nope, don't want that on the table. However, talking about a fantasy of doing it, that's something I'm totally willing to explore. So finding, you know, what's in the fantasy realm, what's in the desires realm, and what's in the needs realm, and then exploring those edges in those 3 categories a little bit. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and anything you want to say about those categories or how that applies to your experience?
Well, you know, I think you know, over the years, in a lot of my past relationships, you know, we always, you know, and I've seen other couples have this, is they, you know, there's like a rock star or movie star that, like, you know, your significant other would make an exception to. You know, if like you met this rock star, you know, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
Well, you know, maybe go ahead and, you know, go back to, you know, like what we talked about earlier, and use that, and do a little role play, you know, and have your significant other dress up as that rock star or something like that, and, you know, go halfway there.
He doesn't look much like Jay-Z, but he can play a mean Jay-Z.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, also,
There's this exercise that our friend, go ahead, Sherry.
when I've led play parties, one of the opening ceremony exercises that we had is we'd have people partner with each other, and they would share what their desires, fears, and boundaries were for the night in relation to.
Oh, great.
But I also really
Great.
like the desires, fantasies, and needs. Like, I think that's great. And I think it's a wonderful thing for people to do, is just share, like, what are you genuinely turned on by that could be a reality? What's a fantasy that, you know, might never happen, but you like thinking about it happening? And then, of course, needs, where you just can't live without it, you know? I think all of that's a really beautiful thing for people to have with each
Yeah,
other.
for me, that's kissing on the neck. I can't live without it. I need lots and lots of neck kissing.
Yeah, it's also great. It just gives you any way that you can move sexual energy. It just allows you to more fully develop your sexual interactions with your partner, and being able to talk about these things through this vehicle of you know, fantasy, needs and desires, gives you a vehicle just to kind of sort that out even for yourself, you know, because you may start talking about it, and this is one of the things John was alluding to, and you get that that's a total fantasy. That's not even, it's not even something that I would actually do. It's a total fantasy. And just by allowing yourself to get clear in your head, you can also kind of not only be expressing more sexually, but you can get connected with your partner and what do they want. You know, it just opens up the dialogue.
And on that note, I just want to add, it's also not just more what they want. You know, our friends, you know them, Brian Franklin and Jennifer Russell, they taught us this kind of game of the sexual archetype game, which we have found to be really fun and interesting. And you look at 4 different categories across a quadrant that in one direction is, and this is just about exploring, you know, it's part role-playing, just exploring archetypes that, you know, you can stretch your, what they call behavioral flexibility. Because often in sex, things get to be the same. You know, it's like they have this dynamic and I have this dynamic. So it's meant to kind of bust that up, but not necessarily always be the things that you're attracted to, but even bust it up by the things that you're not attracted to. So across one pane of the quadrant is how much you like it. And on the other quadrant is, or the other plane is how naturally it comes to you. So the first box of the quadrant is it comes naturally and I like it. And in this case, they gave me, people were assigning it to you, people who had been in a workshop all week. And they gave me Jackie O. And, you know, regal, elegant, you know, yes, comes naturally and I like it. And then they gave me comes naturally and I don't like it, and they gave me Hillary Clinton, the boss woman. And then they gave me the one you get to choose is the one that doesn't come naturally, but you do like it, and you choose that one, and I chose the slut.
Mm-hmm.
And then they assigned me the one that does not come naturally, and I don't like it, and they gave me the rape victim. And
then
with Raj's,
for me, the one, tell the quadrants again, and also
the first quadrant comes naturally, and you like it.
So that for me, that was the caregiver,
the healer.
The
Yeah.
healer. I like always doing that for people. The one that
comes naturally and you don't like it
is the Boy Scout.
Put the tech together. No good guy. Yeah.
The one that
does
I
not
like
come
and does
naturally.
not come naturally was the Jay-Z category. And then the one that I don't like and doesn't come naturally would be Sid Vicious, just as so irreverent.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would it be like if the healer and the rape victim made love? And what would it be like if Hillary Clinton and Jay-Z made love? And so you're just exploring these different dynamics just to create more behavioral flexibility between you. So,
and then you can bring in the role playing and the costumes and fantasies. It's all in there.
Then it sounds like a music festival.
Yeah.
Now, I had one other question. In fantasies, you said in mind and action. What do you mean by that?
I think that you can have fantasies that are, that's kind of going back to the rock star thing or whatever. That you have these fantasies that are in mind, and you can kind of act them out in your mind, but you're not going to actually do, the full-blown thing. And then there's the action ones where, I have a fantasy of making love in the woods and, a group of deer watching or something like that. It's a fantasy that you could possibly put into action. I think different levels, and some are more risque than others, and I think probably putting fantasies into action are definitely more adventurous than just in the mind. So, if you're just kind of starting out, getting more adventurous in your sexuality, maybe fantasies in the mind or something where you want to start out with, because it's right there. It's all contained in the room. It's contained between you and your partner, and it's safe.
And just for all of those out there that are listening as well, no matter where you are in your sexual exploration of understanding yourself, your beloved, your relationship just out there in the world with your sexuality and sensuality. I heard someone, Zipporah Kingsbury, said a few weeks ago, no matter where you are sexually, I promise you're just scratching the surface. I thought, wow, what a great context for all of us. And then Susan Bratton and her husband Tim, she said, begin as beginners together. And it's just this idea that no matter where we are, there's this exploration. I mean, we've been together 10 years. Where are we going from here? How is our relationship going to be evolving physically and emotionally? So I know it's going to be evolving physically and emotionally based on some of these fun tips today. We so appreciate the two of you being here. We're going to tell people how to find out more about you and about Relationship Fun and Games in a moment, but anything else you want to say to wrap up with your ideas for our audience today?
Yeah, I think just for everyone out there, remember to make time to really be with your partner, because a lot of times people just get so caught up in the busyness of their life, and the attitude is, oh, when would we have time to do all these things? But to me, this is the essence of what keeps people together, is making quality time to drop in and let go of the world around you and really be able to explore all of this, because it's intentional, and creating an intentional space around it, I think, is really key in order to remember that that's the sacred, beautiful piece that we have with your beloved, and something that you can stay connected with.
And just keeping fun and joy in your life, and bringing that into your sex life also. Laughter and silliness, and everything doesn't have to be so serious all the time. And
you're singing my tune, Scooter. We love that, right? Especially when it comes to our growth and development, and especially sex. everything is so significant. It's like, let's just lighten up a little bit here. Experiment, play, see how things go. Well, if you want to see more of how things go, and if you want to reach out to Sherry and to Scooter, you can go ahead and check out both their Facebook pages here that we have on the screen. And Sarah, you may want to, our moderator, you may want to copy those and put those in the comments so people can find them now and find them easily when they come back to the page. And if you're interested in finding out more about relationship fun and games, maybe it's your first time watching the show tonight. Oh, I see first before more relationship fun and games.
I just clicked through.
To the next one, that's fine. So next week we'll be looking at the Fights Clean After, and we're going to have Kevin Kurganski and Lauren Peters. Really excited to have them join us. I actually had a half-an-hour call with them today that was just a total delight and pleasure. But just wanted to let you know also about if it's your first time on the show and you're not yet one of our don't have our free membership to Relationship Fun and Games, then you can go ahead and subscribe to the Relationship Reset Kit. We'll get you to that screen in just one moment, just having a little bit of a delay.
So just a little bit about next week's show with keeping the fights clean after. So with Kevin and Lauren, they're really going to talk about how you can heal after a hurtful argument. And often our arguments can get ugly, and we can say things or do things that we would ideally have not done or said. And so how do you navigate that? How do you actually navigate arguments? What do you do after them?
Well, what you can do is you can absolutely turn your argument into intimacy and the breakdown into a breakthrough. I like to say the expression, experience is expensive. Just make sure you got what you paid for. So if you've had an argument, you want to learn from it afterwards and make sure that you're up-leveling how you do it for next time. So now, can I tell them about the Relationship Reset Kit? Okay. I'm excited about the show, but yes, I wanted to tell you about the Relationship Reset Kit. So this is a mini course and email series on 4 of our most popular tips, including the hot and bothered backseat driver, which will have you never fight about driving in the car again. It's a game changer. It certainly was for us. Just remove that one common fight. Poof. It's not in our relationship anymore. You'll also get our guidebook to how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty with all sorts of great tips in there for you on that one. And access to the shows here live and, of course, the replays as well. And you can get that at relationshipfunandgames.com/get-free-gifts-main. And our moderator will also put that link in the chat for you to make it easy for you to get.
You can also check out our ebook called How to Keep the Fights Clean and the Sex Dirty, the 5 simple steps to solutions that really satisfy.
Yeah, yes, they really satisfy. These aren't just like surface. These are actually things that really will make a difference. But the thing we're most excited about is what's coming up in just 2 weeks is our 6-week course. It's the second time we're offering it. It was so much fun the first time. The camaraderie with the couples, and it's interesting. We had an equal number of singles as couples, couples with their beloved on the call, couples on the that are on the call, but it's just one person, either their male or female partner wasn't there. So it was a really great mix, but being able to chat while we're doing the course, being able to support each other on the Facebook page as well is just a total delight. So there's only a certain number of spaces, and we start in 2 weeks, so you can go ahead and check out relationshipfunandgames.com, 6-week course, and snap up one of those spots for you, because you deserve a playful, peaceful, and passionate relationship. You may have heard me say before, life is just too tough to do alone. It's so much more fun with the beloved, but a crappy relationship is worse than none at all. So go ahead and invest in your relationship. Don't let what's good go bad. Take it from good and make it great. And hopefully we've tonight made that a little bit easier and more fun for you. So thanks again, Sherry and Scooter. So appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Great show.
So much for having us.
We love being here.
Yeah, we learned. Great. Loved your tips, and we can't wait to try them out.
Awesome.
All right.
It's always fun after a show. Thanks so much, you guys. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for coming.